Hello there. Today we're going to be talking about using what you have to catapult yourself to the next level. Hi, my name is Patricia, and I am here to talk about all the ways to help you and me um, be better advocates for ourselves, be better advocates for others, and ultimately to live a more empowered life in all the ways, all the things that we do. And so here we are diving into this whole YouTube experience at a different level, right? So you all can go check on my channel. There are years worth of Coffee Time Career Chats that talk about professional relationship building, networking, career development. And I stick with all of that content, and you will probably see some of it again here, but just from a different perspective, because really my goal here is to sit down and have a conversation about the things that roll around through my head, but I edit out because there's a lot of editing. And so this is an opportunity for me to speak up in a new and different way while still, achieving some of the goals that I have for myself. And one of those things has been me making a shift over the course of, it's not just been the last year, it's probably been a good 18 months. When I realized I needed to be making a shift, I was probably on the verge of approaching some burnout. And I didn't want to do that because I've already done the burnout thing 2-3 times over. So I started pulling back on some of the regular things that I was doing, most noticeably doing recording 2 lives per week and doing professional development training. And I challenged myself last year to literally use what I have already, use what I had already as far as content in order to give myself the time I needed to figure out what it is I wanted to do next, right? And so I was like, I wonder if I could do it. I knew I had a whole lot of content. So that was not the question. The question was of like, this is kind of scary. It's not going to be new stuff going out there. Is anybody really going to keep following or listening or watching? So I just said, whatever. I need this break while I figure out what I'm going to do next. So I proceeded to do what I would normally do, right? I scheduled out what topics would be on Mondays versus Wednesdays each month. And I moved forward because that's what I'd been doing for years. But this time I just went back and used content that has been existing. And here's the thing, y'all. I made it 11 months. 11 months. I didn't do December only because it was the holidays and I normally would have been doing repeat things anyways in December. So I gave myself a break. So I have 11 months of content where I only repeated one live, one show, one time, and it was by accident. I didn't realize I had already used it, and I was really aggravated by that. That's a lot of content. And so there are some things I learned from that, right? First of all, recognizing when you need a break and creating that space for yourself, right? Because that's not something I'm really good at. Let's just be honest. I have always been, the perfectionist, pushing hard to the next level, very ambitious, and there's nothing wrong with all of those things. But, as life builds up, and it's not just about me, but now I have a husband, and then I have 2 kids, and then I have all of these additional responsibilities that I added on. Things were piling on. And as things got challenging in various areas of my life, professionally versus personally and all of that, Like that burnout comes hard and fast. I'll share, some of those stories later on, but that burnout comes hard and fast. And so, even in the midst of so many things not going the way that I had planned for them, I already knew I'm going to need to shift. The question is, am I just pulling back, to doing lives once, a week and figuring out a new topic or something like that, or what? And I know how I am. I want it all to be like lined up. So I was like, you're going to pull back. You're going to use the content you already have to fill in the gap while you figure it out. So that's what I did. And I used the tools that I was already paying for, that I already had, and I scheduled them. I would just have to go in once every couple of weeks, upload the videos and the topics that were appropriate for the remainder of that. And I just did that month in and month out. Travel. I mean, last year there was all kinds of things going on. Traveling across the country twice for both of my kids. There was just so much. And so pulling back was a good thing, and something I would not have done for myself had I not been already engaged in a lot of nervous system regulation practices, dealing with some other chronic health issues that forced the matter. So I had to, and so I did. I pulled back. That was the first thing. The second thing that I learned through that, using what I have specifically to that situation, was that, people aren't following you as closely as you think they are. Like, other people have lives. And so here I am putting up content, trying to keep it fresh as far as just organization, but literally no editing, no, I just put not a warning, but kind of like a replay. Because here's the thing that I remember. We watch reruns on TV all day, every day. All day, every day. Without complaint. I might actually even go look for certain reruns to watch because I enjoy that show. So why would that not work in this situation as well? Also remembering there's a big old world out there, and there are tens of thousands and millions of people who have never seen my content before. So guess what? All of those things that, again, had played maybe once or twice in a year we're going to be going through again one time for the entire year of 2025. That was very eye-opening to realize and remember. And while experiencing that, having people that I know, so not even the folks I don't know, I would run into people at meetings and they're like, hey, I really enjoyed your content on LinkedIn. And I'm like, what? You're following my stuff? They're like, oh yeah, I always follow it. Or I always listen to it when I can catch it. And I was like, wow. It was happening every month as if this stuff was new, which it was not. So that was very eye-opening for me. And also, I'm taking note now of things to manage for the future, like how I can utilize this content. What are the things I can do to help, repurpose it anew, not just on one platform, but on multiples. Because I kind of had started doing that, but not at the level that I really desired, which was another reason why I needed a break, right? Okay, so that was the second thing. Everybody's not always paying attention to you. That applies in so many different ways. So it's okay to repeat something every once in a while. The third thing I learned was that um, I'm really pretty damn good at what I do. And realizing that the amount of content that I had developed over the years it's just so massive. I know that I need help like going through it and sorting it and organizing and all of that. And that is absolutely on the agenda. But that stuff requires expertise and money, right? So it's, again, another reason to pull back, figure out what I'm going to do, and then how I can move forward more slowly, which I guess will be a point number 4, right? But even in just going through and trying to figure out, where to place certain things, when I would stream them live, for that particular week, for that particular day or whatever, I was going back through and like, that's some good stuff. Because I normally don't listen to my own work. I really don't. I'm very deliberate about outlining. I don't work from a script per se. Like I've been trained as a public speaker since I was the age of 14. So one of the things that we were trained from my very hard-nosed speech and debate coach was like, we don't read from a script. I've never read from something. But what I do is I identify, key points, key topics, key themes, or something like that, and then being able to speak from there and just trusting myself that I'm gonna address it the way that it needs to be. And if something get missed, then maybe that wasn't supposed to be included. And that's how I've moved forward. And so that's how I would operate. I would have my topic. I would have my 3 or 4 points that I wanted to make sure and make. And then I would just go off the cuff every time. I'm doing it now. The difference here is, like, I don't even have the points. I have a post. I have a post that I wrote about this topic a few months back that I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll check in and make sure I use some of that language. But otherwise, and I recognize that that is a skill and that is a gift that everyone does not have. And it's something that I need to utilize to help support other people, right? To be able to show them that things are possible, what you can do with training, what you can do with your skills, and recognizing there are things you know how to do that other people don't, but you take them for granted. Not that other people take them for granted, but you take them for granted. I take these things for granted because I've just done it all my life. And so sitting back and looking at that content when I'm forcing myself to slow down is like, damn, girl, that's some good stuff. You need to use that somewhere. You need to go back to that. So, it's just a breadth of content, and also being able to, sit back and recognize where your strengths lie and to lean into them, and to know that it's okay to lean into them and to continue to lean into them, right? I think that's my tummy because I haven't eaten lunch. I think that probably my next point would be, and I know I said it was going to be something else. I don't remember what it was. But I think the other thing would be to remember that when you're using what you have, like, there's no shame in doing that. We think, and I think this is something that I actually had written down, is there's this false sense of lack and of fear of the unknown when you're moving that way. And like, oh, you're going to be judged, right? Which gets back to my other point of like, people have lives. They are not following you that closely. For some people, this is the first time they've ever seen this. It doesn't matter that you run it, every year for the last 8 years, it's new to somebody else. Overcoming, I don't even want to say overcoming, managing that shame, that stress, that fear is a journey. And I talk about this when I'm working with my clients, when I'm working with my coaching clients, because we get all so caught up in whatever the situation is, and we're only seeing it through our limited purview and presuming that our purview is what other people are perceiving and seeing as well. And most of the time, that is not true. It is absolutely not true. When I talk to friends, colleagues, or whatever about some situation, they're like, oh my God, I never would have known that had you not told me that. And I'm just like, really? And they're like, I had no idea. So that's the thing that we have to remember, that when we're using the skills we have, when we're using the tools we have, when we're using the connections and relationships we have to help address an issue, a problem, a concern, guess what? It's okay. There's no shame in doing that. It actually shows a level of strength to be able to go out and to ask for that help, to give someone some, put people on notice. I'm like, hey, I'm having this issue or this concern, or I'm pulling back here. This is what I'm going to be doing. Do you have any suggestions on that? I mean, like literally, it took me a while to get there, but I did. And so some of my biz besties that I've gotten close with, or it's a group of women that we met in an online networking group back during COVID, and we've just stayed in touch, and they are a wonderful group of people. And so they're folks that I lean on now to ask questions or to say, what am I doing? They're accountability partners basically at this point. And when I say, hey, I'm going to do this thing, or I'm going to repeat doing this, or I'm going to pull back, like I have a couple of them, they are pretty hardcore about it. One of them, she knows who she is. She's literally messaged me Friday to check in, to say, hey, where are you on your YouTube project? I'm like, oh my God. Where are you on your speaking thing that you have coming up next week? And I was like, here's where I am, ma'am. So, which reminds me, I need to message her and let her know that I am doing the thing, right? And so in moving forward, even with this project, it's amazing the old habits that will show back up, right? I'm very much a planner. I am not, what's the word? I'm not inflexible, because the work that I've done in the past has required me to be responsive in crisis situations, which require you to be able to think on your feet, take action immediately, and all of that. So that's not really my issue. But when I have time and I'm like, well, I think this is how I want to do, I'm like, okay, well, I want this and this and this, and I've got all these steps that I really think I want to be able to implement to achieve whatever it is. And then backing into, oh, but I need this resource, and I need this resource, and I need this piece of equipment, and I need to make sure that I have all of these things set up before I can start. All lies. That is the best way to keep yourself from moving forward in your own life, to pursue the growth that you really seek. And I say this because this is not the first time, right? This is just the next level of me doing this, where I've been afraid. And unfortunately, sometimes what has happened is you get pushed to an edge that requires you to take the leap. And so part of the journey for me is taking the leap before I'm pushed to it. Because getting pushed to that leap is not nice. It's not nice. life happens. I get it. We all experience difficulties and challenges and all of that. But there are times I would like to be able to get to the next level of who I am and where I want to be without having been literally pushed to it because of some external factor. So that was another piece, a learning piece here, which is how long I sat. Like, I had this whole plan of what I was going to do back through November and December, totally ignoring the fact of December with the holidays. I'm very much, we take Christmas very seriously around here. And my kids would be home from college and all of that. So there was no way I was going to do some of that stuff the way it was planned. It just wasn't. And then my accountability partner, one of my biz besties, again was like, and you're trying to do what? Reminding me that I had not been speaking on the regular like I had been for a whole year. So what was that going to do to my voice? What had I done to prepare for that? Right? So there's all of these elements that while I'm using what I have to get to that next level, there's still some other things I needed to recognize, because that would mean if I'm going to go back to using my voice to pursue a new project at the same time that I had given it a break for a year, like, I really needed to recognize that, like, I was going to have to re-implement some old, it's not even just old habits, but practices. That's the word I'm looking for, to prepare myself for it, right? And by staying hydrated, drinking my teas and protecting my voice, using my scarf collection to help give me that. Like, there were things I was not doing because I hadn't been engaged in the regular practice of speaking, or batching my speaking lives, for months at a time. So that's another piece of that. For me here is literally getting back to some of those things that I had stopped doing, again, in the name of moving forward, but was going to require me to, again, sit back, reassess, but still move forward. So that has been very interesting. That has been very interesting. One of the things is recognizing about tightening up your list of needs. Because again, when you say, well, I can't move forward because I don't have this thing and that thing and that thing. And I always tell folks to reframe. That's one of my lovely little phrases that I use with my coaching clients. Like, how about we reframe that? And so for me, the reframe is not focusing on what I don't have, or because that's basically what you're saying. Well, if I need something, that means you're saying I don't have it. And if I don't have it, then if that implies I can't move forward with the next thing because I don't have it. And the truth of the matter is, rarely was that actually the case. It might not be as polished. It might not be as organized as I would prefer. I might not have set up all the things the way I wanted to, but it did not mean that I could not move forward. The reminder is, for starting this project and starting fresh, literally all I need is what I did when I started 10 years ago. My camera, that's it. My voice, me, my camera, some decent light. And even back then, those first initial videos, there was not decent light. It was horrible. I have so much more stuff now. And here's the thing, I'm still not even using it, because that would get me all, let me go set this up and all. Nope, haven't moved in the ring light. It's still out in my open office area. I did bring in some decorative things because I'm like that. Got my nice little plant, got some things going, and I will add to it. Because this little spot is just one of them, but I needed to get started. I had been putting it off because I hadn't prepped my other area. I was still prepping my other area for me to be able to re-engage in speaking on the daily and recording. And that was just hampering because I have my kids are away at school. I'm using my daughter's room. I'm using a corner in my daughter's room. And I told her, hey, guess what? And because that's literally all I needed. I needed a little bit of space, my camera, my voice. Let's go. And I want to encourage you to remember that. Rarely do we need all of the things we think we do in order to move to the next level. Would it be nice? Sure. Are there a list of other things I would prefer to be doing, or how I would like to approach this? Absolutely not necessary. Get started. Use what you have in your, there's a word for it, but in your grasp, in your little bag of tricks, however you want to frame it, use those things now. And I always encourage people to engage in some reflection time in doing that, because it's what I do. I'm not going to tell you to do something I haven't done, which is literally I pull a journal and I write down, or if I'm not even near my pen and paper, because I'm very much a tactile person, I will grab my phone, open up the notes section, and start writing. Because you can't even delay in that. Oh, well, let me go get my pen and paper. No, let me open this up right now and start identifying, here's what I have already to make this happen. So that's my question to you. What is it that you're looking to do in your life, whether it's work, whether it's shifts personally, with your family, in your community? What are those things that you think you need and why you're waiting to pursue them? Write those things down. And then I want you to write down, what are the actual bare minimum? What is actually the bare minimum that you need in order to move forward? Because most of the time, to take one step forward, you don't need a lot. You really don't. You don't need a lot. And when we recognize that, we can do that thing and then move past, I'm past the hustle kind of words, but literally this is a push to push yourself forward, maybe a little gently, or have someone that you can be accountable to help push you forward gently to take that next step. That will help you overcome the fear of taking action when you don't know what's going to happen next. Because that's literally what the deal is. It's like, oh, it's not going to be what it needs to be because, well, it may not. But you will have taken another step forward and you'll be one step closer to where you really, really want to be. And that is super exciting. Super exciting. So there we are. If you, I would love for you to connect in the comments, but also to connect with me on my other platforms, LinkedIn always, Instagram, and just do a little search for Patricia V as in Victor, Patricia V Hayes, and that will find you. And I will check in again tomorrow, and we'll see where this takes us next. All right? Take care. Talk soon.